after the death of General Abacha, some certain portions that are critical on keeping Nigeria together and keeping Nigerian sense of belonging, and then keeping this country intact with that sense of unity, with everybody playing a role. And I give you a tiny little example. In Nigeria, you cannot look at leadership provision in whatever type of system you are bringing under the guise of democracy without knowing that traditional institution was there much earlier than what you have in NATO. In many countries in NATO, if you look at history, if you are a student of history, during the barbaric age in Europe, as at that time, our traditional rulers and people were already clothed, and there was a system of governance from traditional institutions. So today, you sit down and look at that chunk, that part of your history, and decided to have a constitution that now decided to exempt such classes and say they have no role to play. That is dangerous. That to me is shallow-mindedness.
And hit your head. Imagine in that democracy. Someone our ambitious people that wanted to be head speaker, the officers of the house. We have only 2 chairs. Senate President, 1 chair. The Speaker, 1 chair. If I have 6 people struggling in the same environment, they will joke. They will joke. So it's only through your counseling, your responses to them, that we can harmonize this and take off very, very well. To me, I don't want to very well. But the Nigerian project is of paramount importance to me. That's why I'm here. Nigeria must survive. Nigeria must develop. Nigeria must make progress. To many of our other royal fathers, thank you. Without your prayers and directly or indirect support, I won't be standing before you as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's in your hand as the closest people to the local government, to the grassroots. To persuade our people to have the understanding. This price will be high now, but it will go down.
We have very clear areas that we will focus to work with you. Number 1 area is the area of security. Like His Eminence said, we know ourselves within the confines of traditional rulership in this country. We have all the best of professionals within us. We will continue to work with you. It's about time for us to use us the more. We are not saying we are idle, but we are more committed to this government. We can see that you are very focused the way you've started. We want to work with you in the area of security and to get to close to our people and try as much as possible to make sure that things are organized in a communal ways in our different communities, so that things are well structured from there. But when it now gets to the top, there won't be challenges. Once you have everywhere settled, the foundation of this country are the traditional rulers, and we are here today. We want to pledge our loyalty, we want to pledge our commitment, we want to pledge everything that has to do with effort for us to have a better country in the area of security.
To your faith.
First of all, I am one person who believes that we are completely wrong from 1977 and 78. For us to have established a team And because we wanted America to come closer to us, to now be seen to pick presidential system, American style, 100%, and then brought the same system to the fore. One of the ingredients of lack of failure that brought friction, where Nigerians saw it bear in the conduct of the presidential administration, was because the entire thing was strange. And they were grappling with it to have finished the first term. And when the second term came 3 months after, so many institutions found themselves dead, even though there were accusations of greed, by the same country initially that gave that same presidential system for us to have copied. They played a role in bringing Nigeria, using a particular word, squandermania, abusing politicians. So at that time, that was the history. But to me, some of us believe in looking at the world, just common sense. The greatest ally of United Kingdom today in the world is United States. But yet, United Kingdom is operating parliamentary system. And the closest ally in the whole world is operating presidential system. What are the differences? What are the reasons? We didn't sit down to, from the point of view of political science, examine the two and where they are operating separately. And we didn't also realize that looking at NATO as a whole, in each there are differences in their own laws governing their countries. And the question is why? Why should you be a copycat? A country that has culture, history, our own historical backgrounds, the diversity in us, that is strength, the resources before us, and then the level of education and awareness of our people. That is to inform your own democratic setting. But you abandoned that and went to pick something totally strange to your people. Let me tell you about the presidential system, US. One of the major cardinal points that brought about it was what? Was the issue of immigration, immigrants and citizens. Until tomorrow, that is the yardstick, that is the major anchor point. Everybody came from different parts of the world, met the indigenes who are the Red Indians, and they displaced the Red Indians, fought them, and established a law that is protective of immigrants. An immigrant can come from anywhere and become anything you want to be in America. You require a system that is democratic, that will be protective to you against the citizenry. That's why any Red Indian you see till tomorrow, all their leaders, the moment you sit with them and talk about this phrase, you will be seen to be a friend. And I quote, "One day, and before the world will learn, charity engine will return." You know the meaning? That is the hope, that is the aspiration of them coming back to their land and taking charge of their land. They have not lost of it. How old is the American democracy today? Some 200 years plus. But the dream in the typical Red Indian is there. One may ask, are they totally captured in the law? We have not sat down to now look at the laws or the type of system we are copying for Nigeria. We have not looked at it deeply. Our own team that left in 1977 or 78, I think, ahead of 1979 when power was handed over to the then NPN, Shagari's government then, there were teams that went to America, copied from and drafted the laws, the constitution for Nigeria. That aside. Even when in the 90s, 1996, 1997, when the Constituent Assembly sat, numerous issues were presented to the Assembly, including taking our culture, including taking our history, and then look at Nigerians from every perspective, and taking our diversity as a cardinal point here, where every single sector, every single tribe, every single aspect of our history that brought us together in our country should be captured. And that was done. Justice Karibi Wade was the chairman, or president, was the one presiding. And I know some of us, the roles we played behind the curtain. I was the secret coordinator on activities they desire from what was being tabulated as subjects. He died, may so rest in peace. He spoke about this when we paid him a visit. I think it was in the year 2018 with some of us here. We went, and then he was able to have spoken out on the roles we played in bringing it out. Unfortunately, after the death of General Abacha, some certain portions that are critical on keeping Nigeria together and keeping Nigerian sense of belonging, and then keeping this country intact with that sense of unity, with everybody playing a role. And I give you a tiny little example. In Nigeria, you cannot look at leadership provision in whatever type of system you are bringing under the guise of democracy without knowing that traditional institution was there much earlier than what you have in NATO. In many countries in NATO, if you look at history, if you are a student of history, during the barbaric age in Europe, as at that time, our traditional rulers and people were already clothed, and there was a system of governance from traditional institutions. So today, you sit down and look at that chunk, that part of your history, and decided to have a constitution that now decided to exempt such classes and say they have no role to play. That is dangerous. That to me is shallow-mindedness. That to me does not reflect something that is supportive democracy, and that is something that will allow the democracy to last long in itself. Why was it removed? Look at US and look at the arrangement of convenience. Yet it allowed them to say, yes, you have a governor, correct. You have legislatures at the state and at the federal level, correct. You have chairmen of local government, correct. But every city and every state must have a mayor. The traditional rulers you have are mayors you require. The powers of mayor are supposed to be now looked at, which we did in the 90s, and are given to the traditional rulers. Identification of their sons from their own domains are part of their roles, giving them identity. They have roles to play with regional or district and then zonal security up to national level as being supportive to the main state, to the security of the state in America. In Nigeria, all our traditional rulers are just there at the mercy of their local government chairman. And even the little percentage that was created was the only thing left. And we created it in the 90s for them to have as captured by the Constitution. The question is, why do you exempt them? Another thing is being Africa and knowing fully well that investing strategic in the younger ones against tomorrow in their education, their activities, skill acquisition, empowerment. The question is, where is it captured in the Constitution? You want to have democracy, but in one side, the democracy has exempted some that are part of the ingredients of promotion of exigency. How can you have peace? So some of us haven't studied this much and haven't conducted our researches this much. If you have to now have Nigeria that will allow democracy to be deeply rooted, you should be seen to touch on these aspects that are abandoned by our Constitution. We have to look at it, and I know there are also other areas. The campaign has not started. There are areas I will not talk about that we intend to introduce that we will all be proud of. After all, not a single person comes to look at correction in terms of governance or a law that governs a country. It is a collective team, and we have been on this for a long time. And to me, some certain people decided in 1999 that you are talking about to have removed some certain portions that was engraved in it. But then they decided to expunge them to suit personal interests. It's unacceptable, undemocratic. Also, it is unpatriotic for Nigeria's security. Nigeria's democratic practice is also unacceptable for the opportunities to be seen to be allowed for any citizen to aspire to come to the fore. It was done on personal interest by some people that you refuse to question.
All right.
Now they complain here, expectations there. If we don't work hard, we cannot realize the expectations. Is that what you will eat? That is your problem from your various kingdoms. jobs are like this. But your money should be about your grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And they must not touch you independently. And as she will about rural development, it requires attention. We're going to find a fund. What are the other security issues? I promise that we will continue to look into that seriously to get you to sleep with your 2 eyes closed. What is our focus? And why am I here? I've told you in your various constituencies when I was able to visit that the unity and togetherness of this country cannot be compromised. Joy and happiness as you are here give Ife is due. Give Sultan is due. And equally, every thank Sultan for very uncommon sense advice about Nigeria. He's a very patriotic individual.
And believe in the will of Almighty in whatever you do to carry this country to the highest height, you will succeed. We want to assure you, inshallah, we are 100% in support of you and what you believe you are going to do for this country, and we believe by the will of Almighty Allah, we will see changes in the nearest future. You've heard the various names, but you did not hear the various professions of the leaders in this hall. This is one institution in this world that has everybody that mattered, professionally or otherwise. From the most important discipline, profession in the world, the military, there are generals here, to those who are lawyers, judges, and of course the businessmen. We're all here. We have what it takes to contribute our quota to you as Mr. President whenever you reach out to us. And we believe you will reach out to us as you have been reaching out to us since you were governor of Lagos State some years back. You have a very able, wise president who is also reaching out to everybody at every time. We knew what he did in Borno State. And alhamdulillah, we believe the partnership will make this country better than what it is now. We believe in that. So we are here to support you, to tell you 100% we are loyal to the government. We are here to support the government because we believe we need each other to move this country forward. We thank Almighty Allah for the smooth way, the smooth manner the elections took place. So many negative people thought the country would have been on fire by now.
Very sure that he will live up to all his campaign promises, and we also, a lot of people saw his manifesto, and his inaugural speech was also part of what we should also use to determine how his administration will be like.
First of all, I would like to thank Mr. President for giving the National Transitional Council time for this kind of meeting. We came here to pay him a courtesy visit and to pray for him and wish him great success on his time. So far so good. It has never happened before in Nigerian history. 10 days, you can see him walking back to back. And everything he promised during the campaign, one, subsidy that whether you like it, you fight, I must remove it. He has done that. The resting rate, single digit, he has done it. And just yesterday, they just signed the retirement age of the judiciary to 70 years, which is I think so far so good. I'll score in 10. 10 over 10, so far so good. Because all the promises he made during campaign is doing it. And you can see that he's busy every day. You can see people trooping into Villa every day. And he said that he's not a president for one region, that is father to all, irrespective of where you are from. We are one Nigeria. And he said, he talked about equity and fairness. As a Nigerian, we must be able to unite and be together and treat ourselves as one, irrespective of where I'm in Northerner or I'm Southwest. Actually, time is going to be different because he believes in one Nigeria. So my prayer for him is to God to give him a good health and strengthen him. And for us as a Nigeria to be patient with him.